Yeah, it just was not for me. I don't know why. Actually, yes, I do know why. I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And I feel like a lot of people get kind of peer pressured into university and college by their parents. And I was definitely peer pressured by, my mother and my dad to go to college and shit because it's like, trying to tell your fucking mom, hey, mom, I want to be a fucking YouTuber when I grow up. Like, I understand where she's coming from, but I think it was the realization of it wasn't what I wanted to do and it wasn't me. Now, my first year of college, I went to a University of Greensboro, big university, great school in North Carolina. And I went there and I had a great time. I was getting good grades and shit too. And I was living on campus and everything was great. And oh man, I'm hanging out with people. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm learning, and everything was perfect. But when COVID hit in 2020, 2019, they sent us all home and we came back that following year, the fall. And that semester, I cannot lie, y'all, bro, I was so fucking depressed. I was depressed, I was sad, I was broke, and I felt like I just wasn't myself. And that, why the fuck am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of had an awakening moment. I was, I think, 19 at the time. And, I went back to the university. And, my roommate wasn't there and everybody was kind of, social distancing, everything. And, bro, I remember I was just sitting back in my class and I was just like, what the fuck am I here for? And my major was media studies and my minor was business management. And media studies is basically video editing. And I sat back and I said, wait a fucking second. I've been editing videos since I was 15 years old. Why do I need a college degree to do the same thing that I've always been doing, that I've taught myself through YouTube videos? Every single one of my YouTube videos, chat, I kid you not, I learned how to edit videos from Justin O'D Show when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. And it kind of didn't make sense to me to be there when I already knew what the fuck I was doing. And then on top of that, the classes they were giving me were fucking bullshit. I was in some like calculus class and math. I hated that. I took French. I was failing French. And I tell you this, chat. I was never so much embarrassed in my life when I went to French class, right? Because I was skipping class. I wasn't getting good grades in my sophomore year. And everybody else in the class, it was 8 of us. And they were all girls. Everybody else in the class was having a good time. Everybody else was learning French, speaking French. And they had to do like a project. And they stood up there and everybody spoke in French. And I went up there, man, and I fucking didn't know a lick of anything. And I was just so embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm standing in front of this class in this fucking building, and I'm out here trying to, like, teach French. And I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, that, it is just like, this is not going to get me to where I want to be, Pierre. And I had to fucking wake up for a moment. And in that moment, I said, what am I doing? Why am I in this classroom full of 9 other people paying this university $8,000 a semester, paying for classes, broke as shit, don't got no money, and this is not the thing I want to do? Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a YouTuber. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a fucking content creator, and I wanted to inspire people like the YouTubers I used to watch inspired me. And I sat there and I said, what am I doing here? And why am I pushing myself to be something that I'm not? And one of the biggest things that kind of like opened my eyes is like, dude, Chad, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was so lonely on campus, and I tried, bro. And there's one thing about me, I'll fucking try. And I just, something about trying to be somebody's friend, it comes off as not me. It's not me. Like, why fucking trying to be a friend, trying to get friends? That's just not who I am. And during the university, everything's going on. You guys remember, I talked about this on my normal channel, but I played tennis in college. I played in high school. I played in college. And, when I was with the tennis team in that sophomore year, I didn't fit in, man. And, it's kind of sad to say that, but it's the reality. Like, there were, like, maybe 12 of us, and all 12 of them, like, they all, like, got together well. They talked to each other. They were hanging out outside of tennis. And I was just kind of, like, there, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, hey, Pierre, how you doing? And that was it. And I was trying to be friends with people that didn't want to be my friends. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I'm 19 at the time, so you know I didn't have the thought process of how I have now, because nowadays I don't give a flying fuck. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be nobody's friend. You trying to be my friend? Everything happens natural with me, but I didn't fit in at all, man. And I think that's what really made it kind of like worse, definitely, because I was just, when my roommate was gone, I was on campus by myself. I hated my fucking roommates. I tell you, this one guy would play the piano and scream at night. There was this other guy that would have loud sex with his girlfriend, and I hated both of them. I hated my fucking life, bro. I cannot lie to you. I hated being there every single fucking day. I didn't have no fucking friends. I was broke as shit. I didn't have no money. I tried to go out. I never forget this. I joined the anime club because I love anime. And I joined the anime club. And even then, like, I was just like, I didn't fit in with these people. And I said, Pierre, why are you trying to be something that you're not? You're not a person that goes out and tries to fucking fit into a puzzle that's already fucking fulfilled. You know what I'm saying? And I just realized, like, why am I here? Why am I here? What is the reason for me giving this amount of money and time to this place that isn't going to make me better in the future? And it just wasn't for me, you know? And this is not anything to take away from people that want to go to college. Let's all be straight here. If you want a certain type of career, you're going to have to get a certain type of degree. But when I look back at it, I say thank fucking God. You know, I say thank God I dropped out of college, because where I'm at now and the experiences I've had ever since I've dropped out, I would have never experienced any of that if I would have stayed in that university for another 3 more years. And I tell you this, I would have been more in debt. I would have probably been $45,000, $50,000 in debt. Thank God I dropped out only a year into it. I only owe them around $7,000, which, hey, shout out to Joe Biden. He got that motherfucker till 2048. But I say thank God I dropped out of this, because the experiences I found out and the passion and love that I found out about things that I've learned over trials and tribulations through life has put me in a better place today at the age of 24, better than if I would have stayed at that university. Like, one thing I'll say is, like, video editing, I've gotten way better at it. I'm now a full-time content creator. You know what I'm saying? I do my fucking dream job. I'm working my dream job every day. I love making videos. I love editing videos. I love having a community. I love talking to my viewers. I love the Pi Coalition. I love being me, bro. And I wasn't able to be myself in college, and there was no reason for me to be there. And even with my major, like media studies, I told you, I already knew how to edit videos. I already knew how to do all this shit. And they had me in these fucking dumbass art classes. I liked one of the art class, I will say, but I had like drawing one, and we had to draw an entire fucking a chair and realism. And dude, I kid you not, the paper, you had to draw the chair like realistic, like a realistic chair. It's not like, oh, you're drawing on a notepad. No, the paper was like fucking 4 feet tall that costed $27. And every day I'm in there for 2.5 hours drawing this chair. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing, bro? What am I doing? Why am I drawing a chair? Why am I making a cat femur out of styrofoam? Why am I sitting in this math class that doesn't benefit me in any way? And even with like business and economics and shit, when I took that business class, like I was learning some shit, but I tell you guys, you don't need a business degree to start a business unless you really need that profession, unless the job requires that profession. You don't need that. You don't need that at all. And it's just like, it just wasn't for me, bro. And I look back and I say, thank God I dropped out of college, dude. Thank God, because I wouldn't be able to experience the passions that I have now. And it's a little weird, but when I dropped out of college, I started working at the Charlotte Douglas Airport. And within working there, I found a new love for something. I love planes now. Like, that's something that I probably would have never experienced if I would have stayed at fucking university. And, you know, it's something small, but I think it's like, I don't know, I think it's something a little beautiful about finding something new that you love. You know, it's like, damn, I love planes. I love walking around planes. I love being in the planes. I like looking at planes and studying them and working next to them and talking to the pilots and shit. And it's just like, that's an experience that I experienced that was called not going to college. And yeah, man, it just wasn't for me, y'all. And I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I was trying to be something that I wasn't. And I'm so glad that younger me wasn't peer pressured and said, you know what, Pierre, you're you at the end of the day. And I tell you, my mom was fucking pissed. My parents were pissed. Everybody was pissed. My grandma was mad. Everybody was mad. But sometimes, chat, you have to realize that this is your life. You don't live your mom's life. You don't live your friend's life. You don't live your brother's life. You don't live anybody else's lives except yours. When you wake up, you're in your own body. When you go to sleep, you're in your own body. So why not do the things that you want to do? And it paid off for me. It paid off for me so much, so big time, that I'm living out my fucking childhood dream of being a content creator and just loving every single day of it, bro. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I dropped out, man. And I don't know, I was broke as fuck too, man. And that was a major thing too. Chad, I never forget the day. I was living by myself. Well, not living by myself. I had my roommates I fucking hated. And I went to the cafeteria. It closed at 7. They had this dry ass hamburger. I'm eating it by myself in the cafeteria. I'm just so fucking depressed. I'm sad. And I go back to my room. All I had was ramen noodles. That's all I had. And I had 56 cents in my fucking bank account. I'll never forget. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I ain't got no money. She said, Pierre, what happened? I said, Mom, I ain't got no money. So could you send me some money for some food? And shout out to my mom, man. She sent me like $100. And I went and got some Wendy's. But I sat there and I said, why am I doing this? You know, like, why am I pushing myself through these trials and tribulations for this, like, to be broke? It's like, why not push myself through these other trials and tribulations that will get me to the place I need to be? You know, because let me tell you, it wasn't easy when I dropped out of college. It was still hard. I was still broke. I was just working a job, but I was working towards this. I was working towards being a content creator. I was working towards being my fucking childhood dream, making out my childhood dream. And it all worked out, you know? And it's still working out, you know? So, yeah, man, just think about it. It's your own life. Live your life. Yeah. Peace.